Casa Grande Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. Please rise and join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. I messed it all up. Michelle, why don't you call the roll?
Member Audrette. Member Vanderhayden.
Here.
Member Hubbard.
Here.
Member Peters.
Here.
Member Estrada.
Here.
Chairman Benedict.
Here. Can I get a motion to dismiss the two that
Excuse.
are absent? Excuse, I'm sorry. Thank you. Oh, no. Okay.
Just joking.
It's too complicated for me.
I'll make a motion that we excuse the two missing
Okay.
commissioners.
In a second?
I'll
Second.
second. I can do that.
Very good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Director, your changes to the agenda.
No changes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioners, we have two sets of minutes before us. What's your wishes?
I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you.
Make a motion that we approve the April 4th, 2024 and April 18th, 2024 minutes of those two meetings.
Second?
Okay. Motion is second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Next on our agenda is the consent agenda, which we don't have any cases there, so I'll move on to the public comments portion of our meeting. If anybody from the public would like to address the commission on any issues that aren't on our agenda, we would sure like to hear that. We can't respond to those comments, but we can direct the staff to follow up as appropriate. Anybody like to, please be sure and limit your comments to 3 minutes and give us your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Nancy Wood, 513 Speckle Road, Casa Grande, Arizona. I'm just going to make a quick kind of announcement that, just a reminder, when everybody's doing development and doing different programs and such in the valley, we've had burrowing owls that have lived here for a long time that a lot of the residents love to have around. And because it's nesting season, they're nesting in the holes in the ground because that's the one thing that they're different than any other birds, is that they raise their young in the ground. So it's nesting season right now. So if anybody sees any owls that are in danger or anything in need, if they would contact a bird rescue or Arizona Game and Fish, there's a lot of volunteers willing to help out and make things, or help any way they can. So just a reminder, it's really that time of year right now. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address the commission? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment portion of the meeting, and we're on to new business. We will be holding a public hearing to consider a request from Stephanie Soley Run Design for conditional use permit for 6 off-site parking spaces on Promenade Parkway, DSA 24-00053. Sam, talk to us.
All right. Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. Good evening. So yes, we're going to be looking at DSA 24-0053 by Cold Stone Creamery. They are requesting a conditional use permit for 6 off-site parking spaces here at the Promenade. Here is their site plan. You can see in the red square there is the site of the multi-tenant building where the Cold Stone will be going in. It's Suite 103 here next to Los Plebes and the Great Clips. Stephanie Soleil is requesting a conditional use permit for 6 off-site parking spaces at this commercial building. This is on Lot 6, and with the addition of Cold Stone Creamery, their parking requirement was bumped up to 39 units. They only have 34 at the moment, so another lot 1, as part of the promenade, is giving 6 spaces to be used by Lot 6. And here are the general considerations for off-site parking. Our applicant in this application meets all these requirements. So staff is go forward. Conformance with city code. We've been in here a lot with the 5 standard conditional use permit requirements. We've been through these. They are highlighted in the staff report. And for tonight, staff finds that all of these criterion have been met. And public notification, we did do the posting in the dispatch as well as mailing out notification. Due to its location, a sign was not required. And as to date, we have not received any inquiries or comments about this proposal. At this time, staff recommends that Planning and Zoning Commission approve DSA 24-00053, a request by Stephanie Soleil, with Run Design for a conditional use permit for 6 off-site parking spaces. With the following condition, that this shared parking agreement will stay enforced for the entirety of the time that this location has a use that requires the same amount of parking. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Very good, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for staff?
No.
Okay, seeing none, would the applicant or their representative like to come forward and address the commission? Please give us your name and address for the record.
Stephanie Soleil, 734 West Polk Street, Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay, any comments you'd like to make?
I don't, unless you have any questions for me, we don't have any comments.
Okay, commissioners, any questions? Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Now I'll open the public portion of the meeting. Anyone from the public who'd like to address this issue, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public portion of the meeting and bring it back to the commission.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you.
To make a motion that we approve the DSA-24-00053 and with any other conditions as recommended by staff.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Member Vanderhayden,
Yes?
Member Hubbard,
Yes.
Member Peters,
Aye.
Member Estrada,
Yes.
Chairman Benedict.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we will hold a public hearing and consider a recommendation for the city council for a request by Associated Architects for a zone change from B4 to I2 to a planned area development for a commercial and light industrial mixed use. Schultz and Gila Bend on Gila Bend Highway, DSA 23-00075. Jacqueline, talk to us.
Good evening, Commission. This site, again, is located on Gila Bend Highway, just east of Schultz and near the underpass. The site's approximately 6 acres. And the request is a zone change from B4 and I2 to PAD for commercial and light industrial mixed-use development. The development proposed here will be a new office and showroom for Absolute Construction, as well as incorporate a mixture of commercial and light industrial development within the site. Here are the PAD review criteria that is covered in the staff report. I'll be covering the 2 highlighted items here. The first one is in a relationship with the plan elements to conditions both on and off the property. The site is surrounded by a variety of industrial type uses. There's government buildings to the south along Main Avenue and a manufactured home park to the west, and the UPPR is located to the north. You may recall that this site was previously used as Sunset Court development that was demolished might say about 10-ish years ago. So the site has been vacant since then. The redevelopment of the site will assist in creating improvements on an infill site and will also assist in beautification of Helaban Highway, which is a gateway entrance to the city. Looking at the review criteria regarding zoning ordinance, PED is allowed zoning within this area and use. Here's the proposed setbacks that they are recommending. And they have also added a 15-foot landscape buffer between the residentially zoned and used property to the west as well. Regarding notifications, staff and the applicant has met all the required notification efforts, and I have not received any comments or inquiries to date regarding this project. So with that, staff recommends to forward a recommendation to City Council to approve the zone change request from B4 and I2 to a PAD for absolute construction, commercial, light industrial, mixed-use development, DSA 23-00075, with the following condition of record. And as noted, the applicant has already met the technical corrections regarding the updated PAD. Happy to answer any questions.
Very good, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for staff? Nope. Okay. All right, would the applicant or their representative like to come forward and address the commission?
Good evening, Jared Malone with Associated Architects, 1356 East McKellips in Mesa, Arizona. Jacqueline did a fantastic job, so I don't have anything to add. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant?
None? All right, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you. Now I'd like to open the public portion of the meeting for this issue. Anybody from the public like to address this issue, please come forward. Please give us your name and address for the record.
Jonathan Peterson, it's 804 West Gila Bend Highway. It's Peterson Machinery right down the street there. The one thing we've noticed is just that the access coming in off of Gila Bend Highway there needs to be set down the road a ways because it's dangerous turning out onto Gila Bend Highway from the property along Sunset Route or Sunset Court there because you can't see anybody coming from the underpass. So there's several entrances along there that we've pulled into sometimes and you just can't get out without a lot of traffic coming up the hill. And it's a little dangerous. So
Okay.
that's the only thing we had. So.
Yeah, appreciate that comment. We will be addressing that a little closer when we get to site plans.
Yeah.
And so watch for that notice, and that's when we'll be addressing those particular issues, and those are big issues in that process. So
Yeah.
please come back at that time.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address this issue? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing for this issue and bring it back to the commission.
All right, I'd like to forward a recommendation to the City Council to approve the zone change request from B4 and 1-2 to a PAD for absolute construction, commercial and light industrial mixed-use development, DSA-23-0075, with the following conditions of record.
Okay, do I have a motion? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? Good? Good? Nope?
Good.
All right, please call the roll.
Member Vanderhayden?
Yes?
Member Hubbard?
Yes.
Member Peters?
Aye.
Member Estrada?
Yes.
Chairman Benedict?
Yes. Thank you.
I did my quota.
Okay, so next, where are we? G3. Hold a public hearing and consider forwarding a recommendation to City Council for a request by Greg Loper for a major general plan amendment to amend the land use category from neighborhoods to community corridor for 70 acres on Thornton and Cottonwood Lane, DSA 2400, a whole bunch of those, and one. Jacqueline.
All right, this is a major general plan amendment request to amend the land use category from neighborhoods to community corridor on approximately 70 acres. The site's located on the southeast corner of Thornton and Cottonwood. The applicant is requesting to modify the portion of the site to community corridor to allow for commercial and multifamily development. Here's the general plan review criteria that's covered in the staff report. I'll be covering the two highlighted items here. Looking at number 1, it goes into additional details, and I will be covering number 5, which is to support development on vacant infill lots that can be efficiently and effectively served by municipal services. And Cottonwoods is a vacant infill development that has access to existing and available infrastructure, municipal services, and other services providers. Street transportation is served by adjacent Cottonwood Lane and Thornton, and sewer service is readily available. Water is also in proximity as well. Looking at number 6, which is to describe in detail how any of the general plan goals and or action steps are achieved by the proposed amendment. And community corridor goal number 3 is to promote Casa Grande's identity by creating gateways at the major entryways into the city. By working together with the city, both Cottonwood Lane and Thornton can create a theme to establish and serve and promote Casa Grande's identity, and also to create and provide for a sense of arrival as well. And community corridor goal number 4 is to promote high-density residential uses along urban corridors and near major commercial centers. Again, both Thornton and Cottonwood are urban corridors within the city, and such the Cottonwoods, through the proposed major general plan amendment, will allow for the designation and association land uses that include high-density residential facilities and with placements of high-density residential and other residential opportunities along these corridors. Regarding notification efforts, the staff and applicant met all the requirements, and I have not received any comments or inquiries to date. So staff's recommendation is to forward a recommendation to City Council to approve the major general plan amendment to amend the land use category from neighborhoods to community corridor for 70 acres of the site located at the southeast corner of Thornton and Cottonwood. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions for staff?
Not yet.
Okay. All righty then. Would the applicant or their representative like to come up and address the commission?
Thank you, Chairman Benedict, members of the commission. My name is Greg Loper. My address is 22575 West Mojave Street in Buckeye. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you tonight. First off, I have to thank Jacqueline and Paul for working with us on this aspect of the project. We have a pending PAD, pending this process that we will be coming forward with you in a number of months. Also with me tonight is Gino Tarantini with the Tarantini family. They've owned this property for 25 plus years, and I've worked with them on the bulk of that time. Also with us this evening is Danny Court with Elliott T. Pollock and Company, a well-respected economic development group who's done a number of projects in the city of Casa Grande, including work for the city of Casa Grande with their general plan and economic development studies and other things like that. We engaged Elliott Pollock and Danny with Elliott T. Pollock a number of months before coming forward with the initial PAD and this general plan amendment request to talk about the need for housing and what kind of housing could work here. As demonstrated in the staff report, this has kind of gone full circle, if you will. Started out all residential, single family, and then it went to industrial, and now it's come back with other types of housing opportunities, but still includes a significant amount of single family residential. With that, I'd be happy to answer any specific questions. I prepared a presentation that I sent to Jacqueline, If you'd like to see it, you're welcome. I noticed after sending it, it has some typos in it, so I'd prefer not to show it. But if you'd like to see that, I'd be more than happy to demonstrate it. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I almost want to see it.
No,
No, I'm good.
Maybe with the PAD. Oh.
Yeah, I was gonna say, get it fixed. When we come back for PAD, then we can,
You kind of have a comparison column.
oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, right. Side by side, I'm good.
Okay, back to work.
Sorry. I digress.
Yeah, don't we all? Okay, commissioners, any questions?
No.
Yeah, my only comment, you guys heard at the first presentation of this, we are all very concerned about using the cause for folks being able to own properties, and that's a big focus for us as you get to that point.
No,
Love it if
absolutely.
you keep it in mind.
Absolutely, and that's a significant competitive advantage for this property right now, and probably for the next little while. We have 393, I call them cause units, my wording, that we have eligible for that property, and we have other ways, other than just single-family detached housing, that we want to come forward with that can happen, and then can make use of those, that other properties don't have that today.
Yep. Okay, enough of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Good point.
Now I'll open the public hearing for this issue. Anybody from the public like to address this issue, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission.
I'll go.
Yep.
I'd like to forward a recommendation to the city council to approve the major general plan amendment to amend the land use from category from neighborhood to community corridor for the plus minus 70 acres of land generally located southeast corner of Thornton Road and Cottonwood Lane.
Very good. I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion is second. Any discussion on the motion? Okay. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Member Vanderhayden?
Yes.
Member Hubbard?
Yes.
Member Peters?
Aye.
Member Estrada?
Yes.
Chairman Benedict?
Yes. Thank you. We look forward to the next steps. Okay, I'm on G4. We'll hold a public hearing, consider forwarding a recommendation to City Council to request of Ivanhoe Electric for a major general plan amendment to amend land use category from neighborhoods to manufacturing and industry, and remove arterial road designations on 2,000, almost 3,000 acres of land generally located to Gila Bend Highway between Montgomery Road and Russell Road. DSA 2400, a whole bunch of zeros, 3. Jacqueline, talk to us.
All right, again, this is a major general plan amendment to amend land use category from neighborhoods to manufacturing and industry for mining operations on approximately 2,898 acres. Sites generally located north of Gila Bend Highway between Montgomery and Russell Road. Additional 400 acres that lies within the floodplain will not be amended and will stay in neighborhoods category. This area will stay undeveloped and act as an open space and conservation area. And then the second request is to remove the arterial road designations for Courtson Road and Clayton Road. Here's, again, the general plan review criteria. I'll be covering the two highlighted items. With regards to describe how the proposed amendment enhances or has no net impact on mobility and traffic congestion. So the request is to remove Courtson Road and Clayton Road category, declassify them as arterial corridors. However, upon further discussion with Public Works, they have requested to keep these corridors until further analysis can be completed. From the general plan, this is the transportation network map that shows these corridors intact as well. Looking at goals and action steps for the goal one of manufacturing industry is to provide and expand the manufacturing industry land use areas to accommodate a variety of industries, and to identify locations where it would be beneficial to increase the manufacturing industry areas within the city. The Legends Planned Area Development was approved for the site for a mix of residential uses. That development has not come to fruition due to water resource challenges. They did not receive certificates of assured water. Ivanhoe has studied this area significantly for copper resources since 2021, and copper resources sits approximately 1,200 to 3,200 feet below the surface. In order to extract that, needs to be mined, and mining is an industrial activity. So that's the reasoning to change from neighborhood to a manufacturing industry. And then the other goals is to encourage appropriate and responsible industrial development in appropriate locations. Again, as noted, the Legends Planned Area Development that was previously here did not receive certificates of assured water. So the Santa Cruz Copper Project site is directly adjacent to and would access State Highway 84. In addition, this site is in an area that has not yet been developed in Casa Grande, and the copper that would be removed from the site is naturally occurring, which is how the location for the operation was selected. As such, the site is an appropriate location for the proposed use, and there would be minimal potential land use conflicts. And one of the other goals under environmental is to meet or exceed all county, state, and federal air and water quality standards and ensure that development patterns do not have an adverse impact on air and water quality. Ivanhoe Electric is committed to operating the Santa Cruz Copper Project in a manner that meets or exceeds all county, state, and federal air and water quality standards by implementing engineered technological controls and eliminating risks. In regards to notifications, staff and applicant has met all the required notification efforts, and I have not received any comments or inquiries regarding this request. So with that, the first recommendation is to forward a recommendation to approve the major general plan amendment to amend the land use category from neighborhoods to manufacturing industry on 2,898 acres, generally located between Gila Bend Highway and between Montgomery and Russell Road. However, to deny the second request to amend the planned roadway network, removing the Courtson Road and Clayton Road arterial corridors. Happy to answer any questions the Commission may have.
Okay. Commissioners, questions for staff?
Is this going to be an open pit?
No, it'll be underground.
It's going to be underground?
Yes.
And with the owls, let's kind of go over that with the owls. There is going to be a place, they are going to have a sanctuary for these owls, because my understanding it is very heavily populated with the owls. So we do want to make sure that we're taking care of them.
Yes, so that area between the red and black lines there is what is staying in neighborhoods. That's mainly in a floodplain area, I understand, and will serve as the conservation open space area. But I believe the applicant can discuss that.
Yeah, I was just wanting to put it to the record. Okay.
Good? Okay. All right, very good. Would the applicant and their representative please come forward to address the commission?
Hi, my name is Cammie Ballard, and the address is 99 North Saskatoon Street. Did you need that yet? Did you guys have any questions for me?
Okay. Yeah.
So it's going to be it's not going to be an open pit.
No, ma'am.
And it's going to be underground. And how deep are we going?
So the deposit is 1,500 feet to 3,000 feet underground. And it's an underground mine with paste backfill.
Okay.
I'm sorry, with what?
Paste backfill. So we'll fill it back in as we
Okay.
go.
Gotcha.
Interesting. All right, great. Anything else? Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing none. Anything else you'd like? Thank you very much. Okay, well, I'll open the public portion of this meeting. Anybody from the public like to address this issue, please come forward.
Name is Nancy Wood, Casa Grande, Arizona, 513 Speckle Road. Excuse me. I wanted to thank them for considering the owls and doing some conservation. And I know they've been in the area a long time. They've been impacted by a lot of the development. So it's really good for them to find a spot where they can stay and help out the environment and such. So kind of a trade-off, which is good. We got to work together. And so anyway, if there's need for specialties with burrowing owls, I find that the Wild at Heart Rescue does a lot of work with the raptors and the burrowing owls, and they have a lot of people that volunteer and expertise in that area, so that if the developers have any need for assistance or anything like that, the rescues are always willing to help out. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address this issue? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion of the meeting for this issue and bring it back to the commission.
I'd like to forward a recommendation to the city council to approve the major general plan amendment to amend the land use category from neighborhood to manufacturing of industry and industry for plus or minus 2,898 acres of land generally located north of Gila Bend Highway between Montgomery Road and Russell Road, and deny the request. Same one?
Can we do it together? You want to separate them?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we're going to do two motions. So we're on number one, pretty much just like it is. I have a motion to forward a approval recommendation for DSA 24-00003. Hey, I did it. And do I hear a second?
Second? Second.
Nope, got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Member Vanderhayden?
Yes.
Member Hubbard?
Yes.
Member Peters?
Aye.
Member Estrada?
Yes.
Chairman Benedict?
Yes. Commissioners?
We're good. Second, I would like to deny the request to amend the planned roadway network, removing the Courtson Road and Clayton Road arterial corridors.
Okay.
Just for clarification, we're still forwarding a recommendation to city council.
For
So-
denial?
Well, if that's your,
Yes.
so
Yes.
you want to forward a recommendation. to
Forward a
city council for
recommendation to
denial.
city council to deny the request to amend the planned roadway network, removing Courtson Road and Clayton Road arterial corridors.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second for denial, so if we go to voting, yes is denial. Okay, any more discussion on the denial? Okay, would you call the roll?
Member Vanderhayden?
Yes.
Member Hubbard?
Yes.
Member Peters?
Aye.
Member Estrada?
Yes.
Chairman Benedict?
Yes. Very good, thank you. We look forward to seeing more. Okay, now I have G5. We'll hold a public hearing, consider forwarding a recommendation to City Council for a request from Wolf Harvard Investments, major general plan amendment to amend a land use category from neighborhoods to manufacturing and industry on about 600 acres. generally located Gila Bend Highway between Midway and Russell, DSA 240004. Jacqueline, talk to us.
West End.
This is a request to amend, Major General Plan Amendment to amend the land use category from neighborhoods to manufacturing and industry on approximately 600 acres located on south of Gila Bend Highway between Midway Road and Russell Road. This request is to facilitate accommodating employment uses along the potential transportation thoroughfare near Gila Bend Highway, as well as the future I-11. And the amendment is considered to be compatible with industrial concentration proposed in the area. And just want to note that this is just south of the previous site we just heard. So looking at, again, the general plan review criteria, staff report covers these in details. I'll be covering the first one, which again is broken into 11 other different questions. I'll be covering the number 2 and 3. So community growth should be driven by industrial, corporate, office, professional services, financial services, research and development, and other similar developments which offer the opportunity for high-paying quality jobs. This amendment would change approximately 597 acres from neighborhoods to manufacturing industry to bring future industrial uses and employment opportunities to the area. And they are also retaining approximately 288 acres in neighborhoods to the east of the site, which will be separated from the manufacturing industry area by Midway Road, which is a future arterial. And this would allow for an appropriate mix of employment uses with supporting residential and commercial uses. Number 3 is to support and strengthen Casa Grande's position as the industrial and commercial center of Pinal County. This amendment supports the city's position as the industrial and commercial center of Pinal County by adding to the industrial employment opportunities already found throughout the city. Casa Grande is near the geographic center of Pinal County with convenient access to major transportation corridors. A property is adjacent to Gila Bend Highway, and it's approximately 3 miles north of I-8 and about 6 miles from the Union Pacific Railway, making a prime location for manufacturing, industrial, and distribution uses, which while still within reasonable distance to existing and future housing. Regarding notification efforts, staff and applicant met all the requirements and have not received any inquiries or comments to date. So with that, staff recommends forwarding a recommendation to City Council to improve the major general plan amendment to amend the land use category from neighborhoods to manufacturing and industry on 596.8 acres located south of Gila Bend Highway between Midway and Russell Roads. Happy to answer any questions Commission may have.
Jacqueline, that backs up to the dairy on the south side? That property, the dairy is between Midway and Russell, right? The existing dairy, right? Okay.
Yes.
It backs right up to it? Okay.
So that would be the only residential housing that would be near it then? Would be perhaps a house on the dairy property?
No. Because you have all those manufactured homes right across from Francisco Randy. There's a whole subdivision out there.
That's
Casa Grande West.
That's west.
That one in particular is about a mile away, I
That's
think.
west, yeah.
There's there may be some scattered.
West End Trucking on the end.
So
And you have that,
this is Montgomery Road right here at the border
Correct.
of the,
Right,
so that's where.
Casa Grande is this way. Okay.
So that's where that small
There.
golf course is, right in there. Yeah, there's quite a bit of mobile homes.
there's a ton.
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah,
And there's that horse park out there.
Yeah, it's square.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, very good.
By the way, a feed yard.
That'll change. You know those guys?
True
I
story.
happen to know about that.
You know those guys?
So, where are we at? Any
We were
questions
just
for
gonna
staff?
do that one.
Not after that.
No, we're done with.
Done with staff. So have we heard from the applicant or their representative?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, again, good to see you. Carolyn Oberholzer with the firm of Bergen Frank Smalley and Oberholzer in Phoenix, 4343 East Camelback, on behalf of the Wolf Harvard Investment Group on this project and the application before you tonight. Thank you, staff. Hi, Paul. Haven't seen you yet. Hello. And Jacqueline, thank you very much for your thorough presentation. I too have a typo in mine, so if you'd like to see the typo revealed, I'd happy to launch into it. But I think that staff has covered everything that I would have, so I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions? For either your group and staff, thank you for the chart on the changes in the land use percentages. And, this has a very minor effect, 1% or so decrease in our neighborhoods, and a substantial increase, 9% or so, in manufacturing industry, which we're getting some pressure, and that's an area of need. So I thank you for laying that out for us to be able to see that. Anything?
No, this is
Yep, we're good.
second go-round here, we're good.
Yep, all right, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now I'll open the public portion of the meeting. Anybody from the public like to address this issue, please come forward to address the commission. Seeing none, close the public portion of the meeting and bring it back to the commission.
Make a motion?
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we consider forwarding a recommendation to City Council for this request for a major general plan amendment to amend the land use category from neighborhoods to manufacturing and industry, covered under DSA-24-40 and the recommendation as set forth by staff.
All right. Very
Second.
good. Got a motion and a second? Any discussion on the motion? Very good. Please call the roll.
Member Vanderhayden?
Yes.
Member Hubbard?
Yes.
Member Peters?
Aye.
Member Estrada?
Yes.
Chairman Benedict?
Yes. Thank you. All right. Next, we'll hear from the director and traffic engineer, presentation and discussion on a housing demand summary and projects. Projections.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. This next part of our agenda will be a briefing on both some housing issues as well as some transportation issues. So it's going to be, we're going to tag team between planning and public works staff on this one. I'll lead off with the housing discussion. If you recall, I believe it was in November, staff came to Planning Commission. It was either November or December meeting, and we briefed the commission on the some information regarding the housing supply and needs in Casa Grande. And we looked at both housing supply and needs sort of over a 30-year time frame kind of scenario to give the commission sort of a context and idea of what the housing need was in the community versus what supply we had to meet that need. So this evening, we're going to take a little bit deeper dive into the supply side. We're really not going to talk about the need very much more, a little bit, touch on the edges of it, but we are going to give the commission some additional information on the housing supply side. Staff has done some additional work since the last time we've discussed this item, and sort of really not only did we dive into the data a little deeper, we kind of diced it up a little bit different too. So you'll see what I mean in a second. This presentation was given to City Council on Monday night, so Council has it as well. thought it would be beneficial for both the Planning Commission and City Council to have the same level of information regarding this topic. So, just a refresher on a little bit of the context for housing. In our general plan, we really speak about quite a bit about the type of housing issues we have in our community and the approaches to addressing some of those issues. So in our general plan, it specifically recommends that we increase the range of housing choices and products available to all members of the Casa Grande community, that we support the development of vacant infill lots that can be efficiently and effectively served, and we encourage high-density residential development in our downtown area as a strategy to strengthen the existing businesses and add to the vitality of downtown. At our last presentation, we did talk a little bit about on the need, like how many dwelling units are needed, what type of housing products are needed to meet the demands of our residents. And we also talked about that as we make these decisions on approving additional housing developments, that we think about giving priority to those that provide more affordable units because they utilize low-income tax housing tax credit programs that require that the rents be kept a little bit lower than market, and also that we look at senior housing opportunities and housing in our downtown area. We also talked about that there was kind of a changing of the demand for the types of units that are needed in Casa Grande, what our residents really are needing to meet their housing needs. And this pie chart shows that for at least the foreseeable future, staff believes that about 60% of the housing demand is going to be in standard single-family homes on individual lots, but that about 15% of the demand will be met by apartments and about 15% met by manufactured homes and about 10% met by build-to-rent. Now, I'm going to tell you that what this pie chart shows is a little bit lower percentage for the single-family homes. That's really driven by market reasons, right? Primarily mortgage rates. So if mortgage rates drop, that percentage is going to go up. Mortgage rates stay the same, we think that'll stay about the same. If mortgage rates go up, that percentage will probably drop as it prices residents out of the home purchase market. The build-to-rent is kind of, we're guessing it's 10%. You know, we're about to bring a number of new build-to-rent units online, and we'll see how well they do in the market. They may do great. They may not do so well. We really don't know. For now, we're saying 10% of the market share is probably what they're going to gather. 15% for apartments and 15% for the manufactured homes. That's kind of been pretty historic, stable in Casa Grande. That's really what, pretty much what's happened historically. This, in terms of the numbers of units that maybe this represents that is a demand on an annual basis, we're looking at about a population increase of around 3,000 persons per year. And much of that is driven by in-migration for people moving into the community for various reasons, to take new jobs, possibly for seasonal residents to retire. But most of our growth is from in-migration. And it's been pretty close to about 3,000 persons per year for a number of years. At 3,000 persons per year, we believe that we need around 1,000 dwelling units per year to meet that demand. So if you do the numbers, that's 600 single-family homes, 150 apartments, 150 manufactured homes, and 100 build-to-rent units. And that's kind of what our annual demand probably will be. Now, those will fluctuate a little bit, but those are pretty good numbers just to think about as you think about what is our annual need in the community. So this talks about what our supply looks like. So the first thing we'll talk about is single-family homes, single-family lots, we'll call them, that are vacant lots that do have existing certificates of assured water supply. So we have a number of preliminary plats that were approved, like the 2005, 2006 timeframe, that were granted certificates of assured water supply. Those preliminary plats were approved. Final plats were never approved by the city. The preliminary plats technically expired under our system because those plats expire after 24 months, but their cause did not expire. They still have active cause, so they could re-up their preliminary plats, if you will, bring them back up for approval by the Planning Commission, and then move them forward into the final plat category with approval by council to get to the building permit stage. So we have about 8,600 lots in what we'll call expired preliminary plats. A number of the preliminary plats that had been expired have since been brought back by land developers and achieved new approvals from the Planning Commission. And some of those preliminary plats right now are under review to become final plats. They're under staff review. We'll be moving them to City Council for approval. But we have a number of those. We have about 6,400 lots in those categories. The last category is final plats, vacant lots on final plats, and that number is getting pretty small. What you're seeing here is we have about a year and a half supply maybe of vacant lots that are in final plats that have, the infrastructure all ready to go. So we need some of those preliminary plats that are under review for final plats to make their way to become final plats sooner versus later, to keep the inventory up for our new home construction. All told, we have close to 16,000 then still of vacant lots that have cause. So, that's probably, pretty close, probably a 20-year supply or so before we totally run out of vacant lots that have cause. The other types of home ownership cause that we have is in our condominium plats. And we have a number of those. We have about 3,200 of those that were zoned. Happens to be the ADWR actually issued cause at the zoning level for condominium sites, which is interesting. Some of them had preliminary plats, but most were just zoned. But there's a number of those. We have a new condominium plat under review for 136 units. Happens to be in the Cottonwood project that you just saw on the other side of Schultz, but just to the north of the existing Cottonwoods residential area. There's a condominium site that's processing a condominium plat for 136 units. And we have one existing condominium project in the city that has cause, which is the Acacia Lofts project across from Lowe's, and it has 152 units of cause. I think there's only 34 condominium units built in the buildings that exist there, but they have the ability to build more condominiums there as well. So, interesting thing is we've mapped all these, where we know exactly where all these condominium lots are and the single-family lots and the categories that you see. So what you see on the screen is where all new single-family for sale homes and condominiums will be built in the future, in the foreseeable future in Casa Grande. Those are just our condominium plats. You can see those distributed throughout the community as well. So then, if we go look at multifamily, and multifamily, we'll call those apartments, manufactured homes, park models, and our build-to-rent. We lumped those all together. So one of the things we did do since last time we made this presentation is, obviously, first off, we've received additional applications to rezone to multifamily. So we're showing you all of the applications that are under review. Some of those you've already ruled on, but council hasn't made final decision, and some are still being vetted at the staff level, and they'll be brought to you in the near future. But we have close to 1,000 units that haven't completed their zoning entitlements, but they're in the process today. We also looked a little bit deeper at the ones that we have previously zoned for multifamily, and we found some additional PAD zonings that we did not reflect in our first presentation. We've reflected those here for you, but we have about 4,500 plus apartment units that are zoned but don't yet have a major site plan approved. You know, that's kind of the max. When you go to major site plan, they may actually seek less than that number. They don't always, land developers always don't max out their density. Often their major site plan has less density than they're entitled to, but we have 4,500 potential. We also have 404 that are already zoned, but their major site plan is now under review. We'll bring it hasn't yet to be considered by the Planning Commission, but staff will be bringing those forward to commission in the very near future. All of them are under official formal review at the staff level. We do have about almost 900 that have approved major site plan. So the Planning Commission's approved those major site plans, and those units can move now into building permit whenever they're ready. Their full planning entitlements have been granted. And lastly, we have 1,000 units that are under construction today, vertical construction. The building permits have been issued. So we have a total of around 7,800 apartment units that have some level of planning entitlements or proposed planning entitlements in our system. On manufactured homes, we haven't really changed those numbers. There hasn't really been any movement on the manufactured home park area, so those numbers remain the same. I think the same is true for the build to rent, although you can see that we have about 700 under construction, and we have another 864 that have approved major site plan that can move into the building permit stage whenever those land developers are ready to move their projects forward. This is a map of the multifamily projects, the whole 7,800 that we talked about. You can see they're distributed, throughout the community. And so every area is pretty well served. I guess probably the stuff maybe west of Pinal is least served, at least for the new ones. There are some large existing multifamily there already, but this is where all the multifamily projects that I've discussed are distributed. This is the map of the build-to-rent projects that we have some level of planning approval on, again, distributed throughout the community. Now, again, not all of these will build. I happen to know that some of them, they got approval, but the applicant has walked away from the land purchase. So, whether somebody else picks it up or it comes back as some other kind of land use, we don't know. But we have granted some level of planning approval to all of these build-to-rent projects. This is our multifamily that's under construction, both the build-to-rent and the apartments for multifamily, 3 build-to-rent. We do not reflect on this map the Flats project that's at the corner of Potabom and Palomino Parkway and McCartney. That's being graded today. It doesn't have its vertical permits, but it is under horizontal construction, and so that one will, be on the map very quickly as construction occurs there. As we've heard a lot of comments about, and maybe concern, about the number of apartment units that we have under construction today. And there are, as I noted, about 1,000 apartment units under construction today, not including the flats. So the flats would put it up to about 1,200 or so. A couple observations on that. One is that we really haven't built any apartment units in Casa Grande since the second phase of Tierra Point was completed in like 2012, 2013. So it's been essentially 10 years plus since we've built any significant number of apartment units in Casa Grande. So clearly there would have been a pent-up demand for that. The other thing that's, obviously in play here is mortgage rates go up and residents get priced out of the new home purchase market. They need alternative housing, which is why we're building apartments and build to rent to kind of address that need in the community. The other thing that was interesting, though, is we looked at some of the past historic building trends in Casa Grande. We saw that apartment construction seems to happen in kind of waves here and cycles. We saw that in the 85, 86 timeframe, we actually permitted 600 apartment complexes in that timeframe. And then again in the 2003 to 2007 timeframe, we permitted another 600. So, there's probably, economic cycles happening in the community, different demographic changes that drive this need. But, having a high number of apartments under construction in any given time has occurred historically in this community. And so our current situation is not that big of an anomaly, but it is an anomaly that, that trend is not going to continue on a yearly basis. For example, for 2024, we have yet to issue a building permit for a new apartment complex or a new apartment unit. We will probably shortly with the flats, I think, but I think that number for 2024 is going to be a fairly low number. Certainly nothing that's going to represent what we've done in 2023. So this is we also wanted to say, well, let's take a 5-year outlook at what we think what projects might come to fruition over the next 5 years, which ones, will get to the point where they can start issuing building permits in them. And so we've mapped this, and the first thing that jumps out to me on this is all the blue single-family subdivisions. So you can see that those are those preliminary plats that have been approved and are moving towards the final plat level. So we have a number of land developers who are moving their preliminary plats into the final plat stage, gearing up to put in the infrastructure that's needed to start building new single-family homes. So the market it appears to me to be adjusting to meet the single-family lot need that we have. It'll take some time as these preliminary plats move forward to final plats and the infrastructure gets installed. We have a number of those multifamily buildings that have major site plans that can move to building permit if the market will support it. We have some condominium projects and some build-to-rent projects, all of which at least have the level of planning approval and infrastructure availability to move forward if the market will bear it. So, again, this sort of shows us that we do have a lot of supply that's ready to meet the market demands and needs for the community. A little bit later on tonight, after I finish here, Public Works is going to talk about some transportation improvements that they're proposing to make to help support the transportation demands made by new growth. but I just want to remind the commission that under our current codes, we do require new developments to make half-street improvements to improve the streets, not just internal, but the streets on their external boundaries, to build that, to improve those streets to our current standards, and to mitigate any traffic impacts on adjacent intersections or nearby intersections that their traffic might put into an unacceptable level of service. And as a result of that, of your approvals over the last couple of years, you can see that we have development that will be installing traffic signals at the developer's cost. In some cases, the developer will pay part of the cost and will reimburse them through traffic impact fee offsets. In some cases, the developer will be bearing all the cost. But the next signal you'll see probably is at Ghost Ranch Road and Pinal Avenue. As a result of the Ghost Hollow subdivision, Phase 2, they're required to build that signal. You'll see the Flats build a signal at Palomino Parkway and McCartney Road. You'll see a signal at Florence Boulevard and Via de Cello, built by the Build to Rent project down there. And you'll see a number of signals built by Carlton Commons and the Sonoran Heights development, single-family subdivision. So development is, paying for roadway improvements. There's certainly roadway improvements that need to be made in the community beyond this, but I just wanted to remind the commission that development is making transportation improvements as a result of your approvals as well. So in addition to the traditional new construction of single-family homes and apartments and manufactured homes and build to rent, staff is looking at other ways to facilitate the construction of more affordable and attainable residential buildings and to facilitate infill development as well. And so we're going to propose, we're working on about 3 separate zoning code amendments that will hopefully achieve some of those objectives, and we'll be bringing them forward in the near future. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about those, give you an introduction to what we're working on, and get any feedback you might want to provide us with. So the 3 that we're working on is, the first is some code change to encourage the construction of what we'll call accessory dwelling units, not development units, but dwelling units, ADUs. So I guess we have a typo in our presentation. Yeah, I've done this about 7 times. First time I noticed it. Anyway, also allowing the placement of manufactured homes on individual lots for ownership in certain neighborhoods, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And lastly, modifying the zoning regulations to facilitate the development of smaller infill lots to try to remove some regulatory barriers that we might have in our current rules. Lastly, we'll introduce to you a private sector proposal to introduce a new cottage product as an alternative housing product as well. So accessory dwelling units, ADUs, what are they? They're an independent housing unit with its own full kitchen, bathroom, living, and sleeping space. These units are typically smaller in size to the primary resident. In fact, our code's going to require them to be smaller in size to the primary. You might also know them as casitas, mother-in-law units, granny flats, backyard cottages, and carriage houses. The ADU could be detached as a casita or a backyard cottage. It could also be attached as kind of a multi-generational living space as well. So it could be both. Our code's that we're going to propose will allow both. As you look at this also known as list, you might think to yourself, oh yeah, I know of some of those in the community today. They're out there. And so they are out there at a certain level. Our zoning code, mostly in our single-family neighborhoods, you're limited to 1 dwelling unit per lot, but we define the dwelling unit by having a full kitchen. So sometimes people will build a casita or a little cottage, but they won't put a full kitchen in it. They might put, a small sink, small fridge, microwave, but not a full kitchen. So there's some workarounds, but this proposal would eliminate the need for any workarounds and just acknowledge that we're actually okay with a second dwelling unit on single-family lots under certain rules. We believe ADUs can provide an alternative supply of affordable housing. We think that the target demographic may be seniors, maybe young adults. We think also that it can work with the multi-generational extended families where you might want to live a little more independent, but in the same household, have a separate entrance, full living area, but be attached to the structurally in the house. We believe an ADU can provide supplemental income to homeowners, maybe even help some new homeowners qualify for a loan. We actually think that it's feasible for a land developer to create a PAD where from the get-go they built the primary house and the ADU, allowing the rent from the ADU to help the homeowner qualify for their loan. We think it provides diverse and flexible housing options, promotes mixed-use communities, and again, as I said, permits a housing style that already exists to some degree in the community, but provides a legal avenue for upgrades. And so on the bottom, you can see various types of ADUs from different communities. The one to the far right is actually a multi-generational home that you approved in the PAD. So that does have a separate dwelling unit within that multi-generational home. So the rules as we are drafting them today look something like this. We would allow one additional dwelling unit basically in every single family zone district. If it was under 675 square feet, we would just move it right directly to building permit. No public hearing, no planning commission approval, go directly to building permit. We're using the number of 675 because that's the size of accessory structure that you can build and go into the building permit. If it's over 675, it would require a conditional use permit, just like any large accessory structure over 675 requires your approval as a CUP. We would propose that the ADU cannot be greater in size or height than the primary structure. The setbacks that we would apply would be the same that we would apply to all other accessory structures. So whether it's a 675-foot garage or a 675-foot ADU, the setbacks would be the same. On parking, we're proposing that no additional parking be required if it's 675 square feet or less. If it's over 675, we are proposing one additional parking space, which could be on-street parking if that was available on that lot. We would not propose to impose an owner occupancy requirement. So somebody could actually, an investor, for example, could own the house, own the ADU, and could rent both. So not requiring an owner occupancy. We would require that they meet building codes. We have adopted the tiny homes building code, so there's some relief for the smaller units. And I have seen some, because we've done a lot of research, but I've seen some ADUs that are very small. And so they would take advantage of the tiny homes building code. We could develop as a way to help save money and promote facilitate the construction of ADU. We could go out and hire consultants, architects, et cetera, to design ADUs that the city could make available, those building plans for anyone to use them that wanted to use them. We would make sure they meet the building code and just sort of have allow them to be used for free. We can create an ADU directory to help connect homeowners with organizations and companies and builders that can help them construct an ADU. We need to look at the development impact fees to see if the impact fee for an ADU should be the same as for the single-family home, the primary residence. Every residential dwelling does pay an impact fee, so we're looking at whether or not we can do a sliding scale depending on unit size. CC&Rs are an issue. Many neighborhoods with CC&Rs and HOAs would likely, those CC&Rs would likely prohibit the accessory dwelling unit. There's nothing we can do as a city on that, but that's just reality, which we restrict them probably out of most PADs because of that. From an occupancy standpoint, they may become short-term rentals, right? They may not be rented long-term, but people might create ADUs for short-term rentals. The city is working on a short-term rental ordinance to address short-term rentals in the community, but it won't prohibit them. And then we have a technical potential issue with the complying with the 4.5 DUs per acre density limit in our general plan. If that neighborhood was already at that density or close to it, the addition of ADUs might put them over that limit. We need to really look at that a little closer and decide if we need to amend the general plan to address that. Moving on to manufactured homes in residential districts. So the concept here is that we would allow manufactured homes on individual small infill lots so that the manufactured home would be owned by the homeowner and the lot would be owned by the homeowner. So we're not talking about parks, manufactured home parks. We're talking about in individual neighborhoods and lots where the owner can build equity, possibly put the unit on a permanent foundation to get it to be converted from personal property to real property, so they can get a better rate on their mortgage. You can see the definition of manufactured home, and under our current code, what I've just described is actually allowed in our R4 zone district. Our R4 zone district allows manufactured homes on individual lots or in manufactured home parks, but what you end up with is just everything in the R4 is manufactured homes. But this proposal, if we proceed with it, we'll have them kind of intermixed. Prior to 1999, Casa Grande did actually allow manufactured homes in certain subdivisions under a CUP. We repealed that ordinance in 99. My understanding is probably because we were working on the self-help home program and we were pulling out a lot of the manufactured homes and building self-help homes. So we're kind of proposing to go back to the future a bit and reinstitute the previous policy of identifying certain subdivisions that we think that manufactured homes can be a good fit on infill lots. I think in many cases, these neighborhoods that we're going to propose, these new manufactured homes, probably will have a higher value than many other homes in the neighborhood, right? We were looking at that they would have to have foundations that meet building codes and design elements that reflect typical stick-built home construction, such as front porches, carports, pitched roofs. We're working on a host of design considerations that we would try to embed into the ordinance. On the right, you can see some examples of manufactured homes that we think would fit in many of our neighborhoods. Actually, the third one down is one in Casa Grande. The others are in other communities. So again, this would be a conditional use permit in specific neighborhoods, and we would bring back the list of the neighborhoods and map them for you. Lastly, we're looking at modular homes. There's a real evolution in home construction, and it's kind of a gray area these days between modular and manufactured. But we're going to be defining the modular or sectional home as a dwelling unit that's mass-produced in a factory, designed and constructed for transportation to a site, designed for construction to the required utilities, and to be anchored on a permanent foundation, and we would propose to allow them in all residential zone districts as long as they comply with the building code requirement, essentially the International Residential Code, as all other stick-built homes are required to comply with. Those are some examples on the bottom of actual modular sectional homes. The flats, 387 or 287 apartment complex that you've approved on Palomino and McCartney will be some type of a modular construction. And so that'll be interesting to see how that goes up. The last change that we're proposing is one that takes away some of the current barriers, or at least makes the process easier for persons to build new residential units on what we'll call non-conforming lots of record. You know, in Casa Grande, we have had a lot of subdivisions that were platted prior to our current zoning codes. They might have been platted under prior zoning codes, and then they've been rezoned by the city through zone changes or just zoning code rewrite processes. But these lots, when they were recorded, they complied with the zoning rules that were in place when they created the lot. Today, some of these lots may not meet the lot area or the lot width or the lot depth of its current zoning district. The city has kind of made them non-conforming to our zoning action. So what we're saying with this code is that any lot of record can be built on regardless of its lot area. So for example, if it's zoned R1 and it had a lot area requirement of 7,000 square feet, but it was platted as a 5,000 square foot lot and we just zoned it R1, it could still get built on in the R1 zone. And in these zone districts that I mentioned here, that are basically our single-family zone districts, they can only build a single-family residence. In the R2 zone, they could either build a single-family residence or a duplex. In the R3 zone, they could build no more than 4 multifamily units. We would grant some relief administratively to their setback requirements. We could reduce their side yard setbacks proportional to their lot width deficiency. So for example, if the lot width was required to be 70 feet and they only had a lot width of 50 feet, then the side yard setback could be reduced, whatever the ratio is, of 50 to 70. Same thing with rear yard setbacks. If the depth of the lot was less than the required lot depth of the zone district, we could give them some relief to rear yard or side yard or front yard setbacks proportional to the lot depth. Essentially, we're just acknowledging that the lot is legal nonconforming and it has some right to develop under its current rules, even though it doesn't quite meet the lot area, lot width, lot depth requirements. Today, we can do this, but it's an exception process that has to go through the Board of Adjustment. It's a little bit different than variances, but these rules that I'm setting out here basically could be approved through the Board of Adjustment. This proposal is to do it administratively at a staff level and let them move directly to the building permit stage without going through a public hearing process. Lastly, I want to share with you this cottage dwelling unit proposal. It's been proposed to us by a production builder who builds in our community, and they're looking at maybe that they could create these on, place these on lots as small as 2,640 square feet. They would have setbacks of 24 feet in the front, 10 in the rear, 5 in the side. They would not have any garages or carports. They would have a front driveway. That 24 feet is deep enough to allow the car to be parked without encroaching across the sidewalk. The density would be about 10 DUs per acre, which is equivalent to what our build-to-rent projects are at. They're about 10 to 12. So that's kind of the density, if you can visualize that. But they would be on individual lots and allow for owner occupancy, which means the only sites they could be put on would be sites that had cause, okay? But they don't meet our current planned area, our PAD residential design standards. We'd have to tweak that and bring that back to you for a new revision. On the side there, you can see a little bit of the proposal, and there was like 3 sizes that they were suggesting, from 815 square feet to 1,200 square feet. You know, this evening, as I thought about the Cottonwoods project that we just looked at, that has a lot of cause, this might be a product that would fit there, right? As a potential. It's really important, I think, is it's really site sensitive, right? It's very, you have to make sure it's in the right location and it's compatible with the land uses around it, and it has to have cause. So it's kind of a dual criteria. It's probably limited amount, but it is something new that's been proposed in our community. So next steps, we're thinking of, based on the feedback we get from today, we would do an open house for the public to introduce these concepts publicly, and solicit public input sometime in maybe May or June. And then we would come back to Planning Commission with actual zoning code text amendments for your consideration late in the summer, and then on to City Council. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, take any comments you might have before I turn this over to Public Works to talk transportation.
Director, I have one question. Do you have any updates on that House Bill 2570?
Yes, it was vetoed by the governor.
It's over with now?
It's over with for now, yes.
Okay.
The Arizona Starter Home Bill, yes, it was vetoed.
Okay, thank you.
But there are bills in the legislature still regarding accessory dwelling units. Depending if those pass, we'll have to review our code to make sure that we're compliant with whatever new legislation is passed. And there has been new legislation passed that encourages local communities to push review processes down to the administrative level to allow them to happen quicker, to help with affordability, thinking time is money, which is one of the reasons why we're thinking about some of the administrative approvals that I've suggested to you this evening.
Okay.
Okay. Commissioners, anything else for the director?
No.
Thank you. Yep, thank you.
All right, with that, we'll turn it over to Public Works.
Please. We're going to take a 5-minute break while you guys shuffle.
Got it.
Thank you.
The important people are here. So, one thing I would question on my mind is, would it be helpful to send this presentation to the two commissioners that are absent? Or will it be make more?
I was going to suggest to the two commissioners that are absent that they watch this on the YouTube broadcast. Well, both what I just did plus what Public Works is about to do, because I think it would be of great interest to both of them.
I love it. Thank you. Who's up?
Me.
Go, Dwayne. That's
So
trouble.
Chair,
Go,
Commissioners, as Paul showed all that development, we want to make sure that we're handling the traffic that that's going to generate. And Paul talked about the developers do a lot of work to help improve traffic when they do a development. But we do, in Public Works, we also look at that development and do improvements to the roadway system. So tonight, we're going to talk about mostly what we're planning in the next 2 fiscal years. As you see the map, that's our overall transportation plan. We're not going to build all those roads probably in the next 20 years, but we do have a plan out to 2045 on what roads we're going to build. And of course, that changes from year to year, but this is the overall plan here. This is showing arterials and other major roadways. So about a year ago, we really started noticing the increases in traffic around town. Well, actually, we noticed it more than a year ago, but a year ago is when we sat down and started, like, what can we do? So we did some brainstorming and came up with some intersections and roadway improvements that we could make. I'm not going to go into detail here, but the squares, circles, and triangles are intersection improvements, and then the solid lines are corridors that we're improving. And then also, you keep doing that. Also, in green, you can see some of the developments that are coming soon. So we want to make sure we're improving the roadways around where the developments are. So now you can go to the next one. So Munir, is this where you're going to take over?
Yes. Thank you, Dwayne. This slide shows all the projects that we'll undertake for fiscal year 25, and that includes the intersection improvement and roadway improvements. So if I can run through the legends, you can see there is 2 signal projects. One is Centennial Boulevard. Signal is coming up in fiscal year 25, and there is a Hawk signal at Pinal Avenue and Viola Street. Next one on Florence Boulevard, you can see 2 triangles, one blue and one green triangle. Those are federally funded safety projects. Next one is a pentagon at Jimmy Carr and Treacle that involve intersection improvement and traffic signal. And next one is a brown diamond that shows the location for a roundabouts on Ash Avenue and Florence Street. Next one is a cross sign on Thornton Road and Cottonwood that involves intersection improvement and addition of turn lane. Next one is a star at Arizona and Florence Avenue. That will be also an intersection improvement and turn lanes. Besides, you can see some of the line works. Different color shows the exact project. Like if we go on the north, McCartney Road projects from Pinal to I-10. Then on the west side, Pinal Tech Park projects, Etherington Road and Clayton Road half street projects. If we go south, we have Thornton Road widening projects from Peters Road to Highway 84 and Peters Road projects from Burris to Thornton Road. We also have another projects on the far east, that is pavement preservation projects for the Hacienda Road from Florence Avenue to Courtson Road. And if I can talk about those green polygons, those are currently multifamily projects under construction. This slide shows the project that either we completed or underway. So if I can run down the legends, the brown circle is intersection improvement on Thornton and Peters Road. Then blue triangle on McCartney and Pier, we have added a turn lane. We completed this project. Next one is a light green square at Sunland Jean and Jimmy Kerr. We have installed new signal. Then all the line work shows the current and or completed roadway projects like, again, Clayton Road Half Street projects, Ethington Road Half Street projects, Pearts Road median landscaping projects from Cottonwood to Courtson, then Thornton Road widening projects. Again, the green polygon shows the current construction for multifamily projects. This slide shows our adaptive traffic system that includes the existing adaptive traffic control and our new project that is underway and almost near completion. So we are adding 8 more adaptive traffic signal. These are existing signal, but we are connecting with the adaptive system. So what adaptive system does is connect all the signal to our traffic management center at NOC and give the staff to observe, monitor the traffic on real-time basis. We also have 2 of the signal that we install with coordination with our partners or developers. So again, the blue rectangles are the existing signal and pink diamonds are the current projects that is underway.
I would like to say, Paul showed you some traffic signals that the developers are building. All the new signals we're building have the equipment in them to be connected to our traffic management center and eventually be part of the adaptive system.
So now I'm going to speak, Commission, a little bit about some of the intersections. I'm going to allow Mr. Zaman and Mr. Itel to kind of go into some of the designs that we are, or I would say more construction work that we're planning. But we did take some video footage of some of the intersections that we're looking at so that you can kind of get a little bit better context of the things that we're looking at to help improve traffic flow conditions. So this first intersection might be familiar to you. It's the intersection at Courtson and Peart. And one of the things that we're looking at, and I hope that you can see in the video, is some of the traffic that's backing up specifically in the left turn lanes. And I'm going to put these in double speed so they go a little bit quicker. You can see that happening here.
Stop a minute, Mac. Do all of you know who Mac is?
No.
Thought that might be good. Mac's a civil engineer in the Public Works Department. Pretty well runs the engineering section.
Welcome, Matt. Good to meet you.
Thank you. And you can see it clearing out at that point after getting pretty full. So we'll go to the next slide.
So this slide shows the intersection of Courtson and Peart Road. And you can see that the southbound left turn lane, you observe on the video, frequently the left turning vehicle kind of spill over the main line and causes a traffic congestion. Our plan is to lengthen the left turn lane for this intersection. This one is the northbound lane. Again, the traffic congestion happens because of very short left turn bay. And we are lengthening the left turn bay so that more car can be placed on the left-turn bay and through traffic can go through.
So this is our next intersection. This intersection, I'm going to let it buffer here a second, it's a little bit blurry, but this is the intersection at Rodeo in Pinal. And it's going to be a similar condition where typically we're going to have overflow into the through lane from the left turn lane, and you can kind of see that here. Even when it's clearing, you can kind of see some of the issues that we have with having such a short left turn lane on Pinal.
So this slide shows the intersection of Rodeo and Pinal, the video just you observed. And for the southbound left turn bay, it was too short and traffic frequently spill over to the main line, creates safety hazard situation for the through traffic. And sometimes through traffic doesn't get enough time to respond. So we would like to lengthen the left turn bay for this intersection.
This is an ADOT roadway, and we've been working with ADOT to see if we could get some funding with them. Of course, like everybody else, they have funding issues, so we're going ahead and pay for it ourselves. It's a big enough traffic safety issue that we need to do something now. Well, I'm talking about that. In the budget, next year's fiscal budget is $7 million for these kinds of projects. So that's all these projects are coming out of that $7 million that's in the budget.
So this intersection is Courtson in Pinal. You're looking northeast at this intersection. And what we're kind of looking here is that left turn bay on the west leg of the intersection. And you can see already kind of the situation that's happening here where you have same thing spillover, and you can see that vehicles are having to cross that double yellow line to stack into the traffic reserve area. I want to add that all of these videos also were taken at between the hours of 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. on a typical weekday. So this is certainly not even the worst conditions that we would typically see.
This is the graphics for the Courtson Road and Pinal Avenue intersection. You just watch the video. So we will lengthen the left turn lane for eastbound direction. And in fact, we will slurry seal this section, restripe, and lengthen the left turn lane.
An example of we've really tried to do this as inexpensively as we could, and also something that we could do quickly. So we're not buying any more right-of-way or widening the road any. We're fitting everything in the existing roadway.
So this is the intersection at Cottonwood and Pinal, and this is a very problematic intersection I'm sure you're all aware of typical truck route problems that we have here, especially a lot of industrial traffic, things like Lucid and Tractor Supply, and most of those vehicles are coming out into Pinal and ultimately onto I-10 through this corridor. And so one of the issues that we have here is the same thing stacking in that left turn lane. And you'll see it in the next slide, some of the issues that we have there, especially involving nearby businesses. But you can see that's starting to stack right there, and those aren't even any semis in there. So you can imagine what happens when you have one or two large wheelbase vehicles stack into that left turn lane. You really start to run out of space quickly.
This slide shows the intersection of Pinal Avenue and Cottonwood Lane. You just watch the video, how traffic flows in that intersection. We plan to install a raised median on Cottonwood Lane, this section, to reduce the conflict of the left turning vehicle. That will enhance the traffic flow and enhance the safety.
So this intersection is Cottonwood and Treckle. And one of the main issues that we have here, and unfortunately you can't see it very well in this video, you can kind of see where it starts to have another left turn lane behind this tree. This left turn lane today doesn't really serve a purpose because it doesn't go to anywhere. It was originally planned for this property, but that property didn't utilize that as an entry. So we have a left turn area that is pretty short for traffic trying to go southbound onto Treckle. You can see them start to stack up there.
This slide shows the intersection of Cottonwood and Treckle, and this is the left turn bay for the westbound direction, and we are lengthening the left turn bay for this intersection.
So we don't have any more videos, unfortunately, for this, so I'll pass it over to Monier for the rest of this.
This is the intersection of Florence Boulevard and Peart Road. In fact, the all four leg will have some improvement. And you can see this is the westbound direction, left turn lane is too short. And we are extending the left turn bay so that more car can be accommodated in this left turn bay. To note that out of four leg, one leg will be installed as part of safety projects, federally safety projects. And part of the 7 million projects, we will improve the 3 other legs. So again, this is this intersection of Florence and Peart, and this is southbound left turn lane. And this one, again, Peart and Florence Boulevard for northbound left turn bay.
So you're going to make that one longer on Peart?
Yes.
Well, all four of them, right? At that intersection?
Yes, we are part of 7 million we are doing on 3 sides. Another side, some improvement, part of federally funded safety projects that I showed with 2 triangle, one of them here.
So hopefully our 7 million will cover all these. If we have money left over, we'll use it on something similar.
Yeah, you can't flip around coming out of Starbucks.
So this is a quick flyover video. This is Courtson proceeding westbound. This is the Courtson and Peart intersection. And so one of the other projects that we're looking at is potentially widening the Courtson corridor out to its full build out. So that's something that we're doing on McCartney, but it's something that we're also looking at here on Courtson. You can see areas where we have the full build out, like in this section, where you have 2 lanes in both directions. But here we only have 1 and 2, and that's just due to the development occurring at different times. And obviously that affects the overall capacity and usability of the roadway. And so you can see it's about to go over here. I'll forward it to the Treckle intersection. And the same condition where we have a full build out on this side, but no additional lanes on this side, just the single lane for the westbound lane there. And that proceeds all the way until Pinal.
So this is a perfect example of what happens when you just let development improve the roads. You end up with a lot of scallop streets. So we're looking at how we finance roadways, and perhaps city will pay for more of these, get rid of these scallop streets.
This is the slide showing the Courtson Road. So as part of a future CIP projects, we'll develop this full build out for Courtson Road, fixing the Scallop Road and right turn lane. But at this time, part of the $7 million projects, we call like rapid response projects, we'll fix the left turn bay. So we'll lengthen the left turn bay. But again, I wanted to advise that the full build out for the Courtson will be part of a future CIP.
Is this what you're showing there, the full?
2 lane.
The extent, well, is the left turn lane is, that's what it looks like today, or is that what it's going to look
It is
like?
today. Like I said, this graphic is not quite what we intended. So this road will be built out up to Colorado and a little bit west of Colorado up to Maria, two-way roadway in one, like eastbound direction. So that will be part of future CIP. As part of the $7 million project, this leg will be lengthened a little bit. Like other legs also, we already showed, but this one will be also extended.
And then will it be raised? It'll be a raised.
Raised, this, you see there's a median, that median will
Yeah,
be
that raised
pulled back a
median.
little bit. Yes. And the right turn lane also be part of the future CIP projects.
Seems like.
Now, we may build the right-hand turn lane out of this $7 million. It's, you know, the temporary right turn lane that the apartment development talked about buildings. So that hasn't finalized exactly how we're going to do that, but if we can, we'll get that right turn lane in there, because that's one of the real issues with this intersection.
So this is another intersection, might not have been on your radar before, but it is something that we have had historic accidents at. So this is Mission Parkway and Cottonwood, thank you. And so this is an intersection that we've had conversations with the police department, and they have even asked if we could look into doing things to improve that intersection due to the amount of accidents they've had there. So it is one of those things that, especially during peak hours, we do have some trouble of cars speeding by very quickly, and you have that conflict where there's other ones trying to get to the mall and things like that. So.
So as part of our $7 million projects, this is the last item, installing a signal at Mission Parkway and Cottonwood Lane. So if we have enough money to do that, so this will be the last item for the $7 million projects.
We're also looking at perhaps this would be a good place for a roundabout. And we could build a roundabout for just a little bit more than the funding we're showing right there. So that's under study right now. But it looks like a really great place for a roundabout. So as I mentioned earlier, we're looking at doing things a little differently, not having developers. They'll still have to build what they need to, but have the city build some parts of the roadway so that we don't end up with all these scallop streets. And this slide just shows you some of the places we get funding. You know, we've already talked about the developer funding and the half-cent Pinal County road tax. That's really important towards the roadways we improve. Of course, the gas tax money, HERF money, construction sales tax, and there's a number of other things we could do here. We go after a lot of grants. We've been successful in quite a few $1 million worth of grants. Some of the projects that you saw, that not the ones Munir talked about, but some of the other ones that were on the map are all, a lot of them are grant-funded projects. And we've done some general obligation bonds, and we may do that in the future. The McCartney project and the Treco project from Rodeo up to Bell Vista, those are all bond projects. There has been some talk of increasing property taxes, but that really doesn't bring in very much money. I forget what that number was, you remember?
About $600,000 if we raise it to what the max could be without having to go to a vote.
That would help, of course, but it's not like 10 million or something, which is what we really need. So with all that, what are your questions?
Start.
The McCartney Road project, what was the time frame that you were looking at for that?
From Pinell to I-10. So we're in the process of hiring a construction manager at risk contractor to help with those projects. And McCartney Road is about 20% designed, and then Treco is about 70%. So we want the contractor to start working with the designers to get the best product we can. So we're going to do Treckle first from Rodeo to McCartney, where it goes by the school and everything. And then we're going to do McCartney probably in 3 phases. We don't have enough funding to do the whole thing at once. So our current plan is to do Pinnell to Treckle first, and then Treckle to Peart second, and Peart to I-10 third. And that could change, but that's what we're thinking right now. So we have enough funding to do Pinnell to Treckle. So as soon as it gets designed, and we have a contractor, we've already picked the contractor, Ellison Mills is the CMAR, we can get going. Construction on Treckle can start probably this summer sometime, and then McCartney's probably at least a year from now to do that first section. And those aren't firm dates, they're just.
Yeah. So you're talking about the Pinnell to Treckle first, and then Treckle to Peart second?
Well, that's what we're thinking right now, but some of the Peart to I-10, there's some development going in there that's going to build half streets and stuff too, so.
I wonder about if get it right here, Treckle to Peart is certainly more on our radar at this minute. Wonder if that's something we ought to think about, making that the first stretch.
Treckle
Have
to
it right,
Peart?
McCartney from Treckle to Peart.
Well, we can sure, like I said, we haven't finalized any of which section we're going to
Sure.
do. We
And
can
you
sure
got-
take a look at that.
Yeah, you got ways to go, but I'm just speaking off the top. Okay.
We're open-minded.
All right.
Well, there are a lot of things on this map that we didn't talk about in the 7 million, but a lot of these other intersections are in next year's fiscal year too.
Yep, great to see. That the report?
Yep.
All right, I don't want to cut you off. Very good, thank you. So, reports from the planning director.
So in section K, under those Board of Adjustment decisions, you can see that the board actually heard 3 of those lot area exceptions that I talked about tonight. And they approved 2 but denied 1. One they denied was because of some encroachment issues that were making it complicated, I think. But those are the examples of ones that if we make the code change, would not go to the board any longer. On city council decisions, council did approve 2 of your recommendations for zone changes. And on the monthly reports, you can see that so far this year, we've permitted 247 new single-family homes, so that continues to be pretty good. As I mentioned, 0 multifamily units, 3 manufactured homes. So that's it for our building report. So that's it for me.
All right,
No questions.
very good. Commissioners, anything else for the good of the order? If not, we are adjourned.
You wanted to, like, say,